Well, in the blessed name of Jesus, if this ain't some trick-or-treat kind of shit, then I don't know what is. Because you could have knocked me over with a feather when I was just checking the court docket sheet to see who was doing what in this crazy mixed up case, when I realized all of a sudden that a new court order had been entered in Brandon Coleman's case. And I almost swallowed my gum when I realized that the judge had entered Brandon Coleman's plea agreement into the record. And so, if you want to find out all of the tea in this plea agreement, including the terms of Brandon Coleman's sentence, you better stick around. Hi there, I'm Professor Blackmore, and welcome back to my channel and to my series entitled Potter's House Pedo-Files. And as you know, the husband of BishopTDJakes' daughter, Cora Jakes, i.e. her husband, Brandon Coleman, has been accused of carrying out various child sexual abuse acts as alleged by his and Cora's 13-year-old adopted daughter. And during my last podcast update of this case, which was just last week, wherein I advised you that the judge denied Brandon Coleman's attorney's motion for continuance, I thought this case was on its way to a jury trial, set to begin with jury selection on October the 31st, with the trial set to begin on November the 6th, 2023. And what I would like to say is that all because of this plea agreement, all of the trial settings for the jury trial have been deleted from the court docket, and you can see that there is remaining this October the 31st setting on the court docket. And I'll tell you in a minute what I think that is for. But the trial is not going to happen because on October the 23rd, 2023, the judge entered this plea agreement into the court's record. And the terms of said plea agreement indicate that Brandon Coleman has pled guilty to counts 2 and 5 of the indictment as authenticated right here by his signature. In return, the prosecutor will dismiss counts 1, 3, and 4. And for reasons that I have laid out in previous editions of this podcast, we all know that count 1 all by itself was void on its face. So I can see why Madam Prosecutor was in a frenzy to hurry up and dismiss that mess. But from this perspective, I really just cannot see why Brandon Coleman would sign this document. I mean, I don't know who's guilty or who's not guilty. I have said that from the beginning of this case. I don't know what is true, whether he did it or not. But if he did, there is no way, after sitting in jail for over a year, that I would have signed this document. Now, Brandon Coleman will serve a term of imprisonment of 20 years for both counts. And I am assuming that he will serve those terms concurrently rather than consecutively. And I guess that is better than the 30 years that he was offered when he signed this plea rejection back in April. Now, the terms of the agreement indicate that he will have no contact with the victim, i.e. his and Cora's adopted daughter, AC, and her family, and that he will maintain a distance of at least 50 yards from the victim's residence, which means he will not be able to go nowhere in the vicinity of the TDJakes compound. And so, Brandon Coleman received credit for the 548 days that he's already served, and he will waive the right to an appeal. Now, this is the reason that I would never have signed this form. I would have gone through that trial. There are certain constitutional requirements that must be met. First of all, you have the right to confront the witness against you. I do not believe they were going to produce that child to testify in trial. So I would have forced the prosecutor to try that case. That way, he would at least have the right to appeal certain things such as the ineffective assistance of counsel, And so at this point, by signing this plea agreement that the attorney surely convinced him to sign, he has no avenue to appeal anything in this case. Anything that happened, he can't appeal. If he were to get new counsel, and that new counsel, because it's done all the time, it's nothing against any attorney, but that's one of the techniques, one of the ways that you can appeal a case is through the ineffective assistance of counsel. He does not have that right at this point in time. He also has waived his right to file a motion for new trial. Now, the same terms were entered for both counts 2 and 5 of the indictment, and this case is now closed in favor of the state of Texas, County of Ellis. And so it is my belief that he'll probably serve those 20-year terms concurrently rather than consecutively, meaning back to back. Now, one more thing that I would like to say is that usually when we have these plea agreements, yes, they may be signed and it looks like somebody in haste wanted to make sure that they filed it with the court so that the court could take those jury trial dates off the court's docket. And so that would be clear that that was off. And I don't want to say who I think would have been in such a thirsty haste to do that. But the court, usually the judge, will look at the defendant eye to eye and will explain the terms of the agreement and will go through all of the things, especially that one thing at the last part of the agreement that I was talking to you about, the waiving of the right to appeal. The judge will talk to the defendant, will talk to Brandon Coleman and specifically look him in the eye and make sure that he understands what he has signed. And so that is what I think, or the reason that I think the court left that first jury selection date on the court's docket, because they'll bring Brandon Coleman over from the jail and the judge will probably explain the terms of the plea agreement to him. And at this point, he signed the agreement. I believe the case is closed at this point. There is no real coming back. Once you sign that agreement, the judge could find it null and void if he says that he didn't understand what he was signing. I don't think that that particular hearing has taken place yet. I struggle to believe that they would have brought Brandon Coleman over to the court on October the 23rd to sign that agreement and to also appear before the judge so the judge could explain the terms to him on a date that was not even set on the court's docket. And so that is why I believe this remaining date that was already set by the court for the first date of the jury trial, the jury selection, I believe that's why that date still remains on the court's docket. I could be wrong, but I just do not believe a judge would just let this go and close this case without looking at the defendant and talking to him face to face. And so let's see what may happen. Maybe there will be one other court date in this case. And so, ladies and gentlemen of this courthouse jury, what do you think happened to cause Brandon Coleman to change his mind and plead guilty to the charges? And do you think that Brandon Coleman is in fact actually guilty of these charges as he has proclaimed in this plea agreement? Please let me know by leaving your comments in the comments section below. And I hope you'll also give me a big thumbs up. And I hope you'll also consider donating to this video and my entire channel ministry by donating to the ProfessorBlackmore.com Cash App. And I hope you'll also subscribe to my YouTube channel and please click the bell so you'll be notified whenever I come back with more hot tea from the church house, the courthouse, and everywhere else, honey child. And please also follow me on TikTok and Instagram.